Hashtag YouTube Wake Up makes big changes. We talk homosexuality, the invention of lying, and today I take some personal questions because it's my birthday. You're listening to Deconstructing the Culture, and I am your host, Elisa Steele. Welcome to today's special birthday podcast episode. You're really lucky I'm here on my birthday to keep up with the usual schedule. Now, if you haven't already caught on, I always record the podcast the day before it comes out. So it comes out every Monday. I record usually on Sundays. Today is Sunday, March 3rd, also my birthday, if I haven't already mentioned that. And not only is March 3rd 3-3, third month, third day, but also, I am turning 23, and today's episode is the 23rd episode of the weekly podcast that I have recorded. If that's not a sign from God, I don't know what is. All right, let's jump into today's official podcast content. I'm going to start off with the news like usual. This one really is so fascinating to me, the story and the fact that this is going on, because I didn't know that this particular problem was happening. And honestly, I don't see a lot of people covering it, so that's why I'm bringing it to you today. Now, it's called hashtag YouTube Wake Up. I was not, like I said, familiar with this hashtag, but apparently it's been a big thing. It's what you need to know about the child exploitation crisis on YouTube. Now, I didn't know for a fact that there was a child exploitation crisis on YouTube, but it doesn't surprise me. YouTube is a pretty nasty place, and just as an adult on YouTube, it's not a matter of if you'll see some kind of porn, hardcore, softcore porn, it's a matter of when, because it is truly kind of a rather very filthy place. And I know YouTube has tried to fix that by creating like a kids YouTube channel, but even then there's always leaks in the system. But let's just say it doesn't surprise me. The internet in general is a filthy place. Social media happens to have some of that worst and best showcased, so it doesn't really surprise me. Now, this article is from Fight the New Drug, if you'd like to learn more. Fight the New Drug is an organization I consistently rep. I have a ton of their t-shirts that I have just purchased because I believe so firmly in what they are doing in their foundation to the point where me and my husband donate monthly to them. So shout out to Fight the New Drug. Definitely check them out. And that is an unpaid promotion, in case you were wondering. Now, here's the deal. There have been reports over the last 2 years suggesting that YouTube is profiting off the exploitation of children, and those allegations have recently been brought to light in a big way. Only now, this week, YouTube is making sweeping changes to the platform to anticipate and just basically react to all the predatory behavior that's happening. Now, how are predators using YouTube to exploit kids, you might be asking? Here's the backstory. Although YouTube claims users must be over 18 to enter their terms of service and that children under the age of 13 shouldn't use their platform, this video sharing site is extremely popular among underage content creators. Young kids often innocently post videos of their gymnastic routines, yoga stretches, bathing suit shoppings, playing in the swimming pool, popsicle challenges, and more. I actually hadn't heard of popsicle challenge. I had to look that up. From what I could gather, it was like kids tasting popsicles while they're blindfolded and having to guess what it is. But like I said, I hadn't heard of that particular challenge, although I've heard some other much worse challenges going around on YouTube. And then also, let's get real. I was a teenager when social media became really big, back in the day of MySpace and the beginnings of Facebook being very popular. And I don't ever remember putting my real age because I was too young to be on the sites. Also, my parents didn't allow me to, so I was definitely not putting my real age on there. Yes, I wasn't a perfect child, in case you were wondering. But let's continue on. While the children who post these videos are innocent in their intent, they inevitably attract predators who exploit them and trade their videos around like baseball cards. Gross. And that's not all. The most disturbing part of the trade system is the prevalence of predators on the comment section of these videos. And this is how it works. Predators post timestamps, like, you put like this minute, this second, in case you're unfamiliar with that term, in the comments where the children, usually girls, are caught in compromising sexually explicit positions. These disgusting perverts They post sexual innuendos, emojis, and compliments, encouraging the children to post more videos or engaging in challenges that could be twisted into sexual fantasies for predators. There have also been reports of links to actual child pornography directing people to child porn WhatsApp group chats, which I also didn't know was a thing. And these videos are a complete open door for sex traffickers and sexual abuse to contact the children in the videos directly. Now, it goes on to talk about all the various ways that people are abusing this and how YouTube will, slap, even if the comments are reported, YouTube will maybe remove the comment, but then it's not like anything happens to the account. People can just re-abuse it. They can be a repeat offender. So it doesn't really matter, even with the whole reporting comment section that doesn't even begin to approach the problem. So YouTube's done very, very little to stop this until now. This week, they announced that they're disabling all comments on tens of millions of videos featuring children. From their statement, quote, "These efforts are focused on videos featuring young minors, and we will continue to identify videos that are at risk over the next few months. Over the next few months, we'll be broadening this action to suspend comments on videos featuring young minors and videos featuring older minors that could be at risk of attracting predatory behavior," unquote. You think, YouTube? So it goes on from here, and I'm going to be honest with you, the part that makes me the most sick about this is not only was YouTube doing very little to stop this nastiness from going on, which has been a widespread, apparently, issue in the last 2 years, but I'm sure it existed long before then, probably since the beginning of YouTube. I'm sure that this is when that started. Now, if all this wasn't disturbing enough, YouTube has actually monetized these videos of young girls, meaning that they're including ads on these videos that make them hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, maybe YouTube has ignored all this issue for negligence, or maybe it's because it makes them so much money. I don't know. All I know is that they're monetizing videos that predators are taking advantage of while demonetizing other content creators' platforms without any real grounds of doing so, aka conservatives, PragerU, a lot of other conservatives cannot get their videos monetized or else they're demonetized because they simply don't like the conservative content, and yet they're promoting videos that are actively being targeted and abused by predators. And the whole situation makes me sick. Anyways, like I said, the whole situation could have been an oversight, or they could have fully known that they're contributing to the exploitation of children. But one thing is for sure, enough people have finally reported this issue over the last couple of years, and the problem is still happening, and it's not due to YouTube's ignorance. Like I said, they know about this. Well, the reason why they actually moved to action, decided to do something about it, is because, surprise, surprise, it was hitting their pocketbook. What happened is the hashtag YouTube Wake Up sent a tidal wave over social media, raising awareness on this issue. By now, several very big name companies have pulled their advertising from all of YouTube after confirming that their ads were being run on the videos of young girls where pedophiles were leaving objectifying comments. In a statement by USA Today, AT&T, huge cell phone company, reported, quote, "Until Google can protect our brand from offensive content of any kind, we're removing all advertising from YouTube." That's gotta hurt YouTube. AT&T is a very large advertiser. Disney, Kellogg, Nestle, and other major consumer brands also pulled their ads from YouTube. The halt of ad revenue has seemed to spark YouTube's concern, and now they're deleting many of the suspicious accounts and disabling comments on videos that include minors. But regardless of the action that they're taking, abusive videos can still be easily found on their platform. Now, what I am trying to say by bringing this all up is awareness, because if I didn't know about this and I'm on social media and browsing the news and hashtags and everything that's trending all the time, if I don't even know about this, how many of you knew about this? I don't know. Maybe you're way more informed than I am, but chances are there's a lot of us who didn't know about this. And the fact that YouTube is so good, they're so excellent and so meticulous at being able to take down conservatives right and left and demonetize their videos. And they're so quick and they're Johnny on the spot to take care of all that. Somehow they have the resources and manpower and filtering ability to take down conservatives right and left, but they don't have the manpower, the resources, and the technology to make sure that sexual predators aren't being creeps and disgusting predators on children's videos. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. There's obviously a very strong bias, first of all, against conservatives. We already knew that. But then the fact that they can have the resources to track something down so heavily and try and eliminate it from their platform, but they're not using that to take down the actual real like pedophiles and creeps and destructive evil human beings, and yet they're taking down people like or platforms like PragerU, who is truly just an educational website, and they're sharing ideas that the left doesn't like or Google doesn't like. So I hope you learned something valuable there, because I know that I did, and I feel like more and more, I'm not someone who goes around yelling boycott everything, especially because a lot of those things I use and I benefit from. I benefit from having YouTube and Instagram and Google, but I am strongly in favor of conservatives creating their own platforms and creating their own tools, because that's something I can get behind. Maybe it won't be a boycott, but if a better alternative comes up that will actually have free speech and then tamp down on the disgusting creeps out there, I will get behind that in a heartbeat. So that's that. I want to actually go back and now talk about a subject I talked about briefly, very briefly last week. Last week I addressed a question where someone asked me, is homosexuality a choice? Now, while I did talk about homosexuality last time, I got a lot of feedback, a lot more than I had anticipated, and a lot of people were very confused as to what I was saying. And then quite a few people said, oh, I understood what your answer was. And then there was a lot of other people who said, you still never answered the question, is homosexuality a choice? So here I am. Due to popular request, I'm re-answering this question more in depth. So, do I think homosexuality is a choice? Here's what I do believe. I don't know. Now that I have that out of the way, that I do not know, let me give you my opinion. My opinion is that I believe some people are gay because of tragic life experiences that have happened, such as sexual abuse. A lot of people, if you look at the statistics, in the studies, a lot of people who are homosexual experienced extreme neglect, abuse, or both in their life that made them mistrust the opposite sex or have a strong liking towards same sex. Whatever it is, sexual abuse is a big part of homosexual stories in general. And so I believe that that could definitely be a big part of the puzzle piece. Now, I, at the same time, also believe that some people just have a natural tendency towards same-sex attraction. So while it maybe homosexuality is an identity that they embraced due to sexual abuse, and they didn't feel like they did have a choice in those feelings, I'm not saying that they choose to be attracted to the opposite sex. I've talked to a lot of people where they felt for years so gross and dirty on the inside, feeling like they just needed God to fix them, quote, fix them. And they so badly wanted those feelings to go away. So no, I don't believe that people choose to have those feelings of attraction towards the opposite sex. Some people, maybe it's sexual abuse. Some people, it's just a natural tendency towards that. But for the most part, I don't believe people that they necessarily choose to be attracted to the same sex. Now, what is a choice is to act out on it. While I understand that we can't always help who we're sexually attracted to, I do believe that we have 100% control of our actions. 100%. Nobody can make you sleep with someone of the opposite sex or the same sex. Obviously, in the case of rape, I'm just saying in every day, you have those choices as to who you're going to make your life partner. Now, the same way that a married man or woman can't always control that they're attracted to someone who is not their wife or husband, or they're not their spouse, but they can't always control that they have potentially a moment where they're attracted to someone who's not their spouse, they do have 100% control over them committing adultery on their husband or wife. The same way a homosexual person who has homosexual tendencies, or I should say just another human being who is attracted to their same sex, they have 100% control over whether or not they act out on that. Now, I do want to say all of this with saying that I do know quite a few homosexual people. I have a couple of loved ones, a couple of close male relatives who are homosexual, and I also have a female relative whom I dearly, dearly love, who she is attracted to women. And she felt like she knew, and her parents knew from the time she was very, very young, that she was attracted to women. And I don't know her whole story. I have not ventured to ask those deep personal questions. Maybe she suffered from sexual abuse, but regardless, her and her parents felt like from a very young age that she was attracted to the same sex. Now, she's also a huge pillar strength in inspiration to me, because after years and years of living a lesbian lifestyle, she dearly loved her partner. Her and her partner were raising a son together. She actually decided to rededicate her life to God. She went through, I'm sure, what was complete hell, and broke away from her lesbian lifestyle, went before her church and the elders in her church, repented of living that lifestyle of sin, and now she lives a life knowing that she's attracted to women, but she doesn't act out on it. And to me, that is so huge, because it's the equivalent of someone feeling like they're a sex addict but not acting on it. Sometimes as human beings, I'm not even say sometimes, as human beings, we are all flawed. We're flesh, and we want sin. And whether or not we choose to act out on that is what is defining, not what feelings we have. So for instance, there are people who have natural tendencies towards being an alcoholic. Maybe it's in their bloodline on both sides, or one side very, very strongly. And so they, from the very beginning, had a natural weakness and a natural tendency to be addicted to alcohol. Now, does that mean that they can throw their hands up and say, well, I was born with this tendency to be an alcoholic? It's just the way I am. And I'm justified in being an alcoholic and drink for the rest of my life. And I don't even have to try and change it, because that's just the way I am. That's who I am. My work should just accept that I'll come in drunk, and my family should just love me and embrace this addiction of mine, because if they don't, then they're obviously hateful of me. They need to accept both of them. And that would be wrong. That would be absolutely incorrect too. So why is it with alcoholism we can see clearly as a society and say, sure, you could have a natural tendency towards it, or situation that you became addicted to alcohol. Regardless, you're still the one making that choice. You're still the one acting out on it. In fact, quite frankly, that's why I don't drink alcohol. People ask me that occasionally. Why don't you drink alcohol, Lisa? I have nothing against alcohol. I think everything is fine in moderation. I personally do not drink alcohol because I already have to worry about not consuming too much media, not watching too many movies, and not eating too much sugar. The last thing I need to think about is one more thing to control in my life. And my biological father is an alcoholic. So that is just not something that I wanted to tempt in my life. Because knowing that I could have a natural biological weakness towards that, I chose not to. Now, if you know that you have a natural biological weakness towards homosexuality, then maybe you don't tempt that devil and you don't start down a path that could be very, very difficult to come away from. So hopefully that completely answered the question, because I got so many messages on this and a lot of comments. So hopefully that clears things up. Now, on that topic, actually, I want to go over this week's book. It's called Gay Girl, Good God. I read this because of last week's video that I posted on Instagram and last week's podcast, and because of all the questions, one person actually recommended this book to me. And I was just like, hey, what the heck? So I read it, and I'm so glad I read it. It was really phenomenal. It's called, again, Gay Girl, Good God, the story of who I was and who God has always been. A little summary of the book is, in Gay Girl, Good God, author Jackie Hill Perry shares her own story, offering practical tools that helped her in the process of finding wholeness through God, I should say. Jackie grew up fatherless and experienced gender confusion. So she suffered through a period of transgenderism. She embraced masculinity and homosexuality with every fiber of her being. She knew that Christians had a lot to say about the above, but why was she supposed to change herself? How was she supposed to stop loving women when homosexuality felt more natural to her than heterosexuality ever could? At age 19, Jackie came face to face with what it meant to be, with what it meant to be made new. And not in a church or through connection with Christians. God broke in and turned her heart toward him right in her own bedroom in the light of his gospel. And then she says, read in order to understand, read in order to hope, read in order, just like Jackie, to be made new. And I would definitely, I can't proclaim that I agreed with absolutely everything in this book, but it was really good. I would recommend it for those who maybe are struggling with transgenderism or homosexual feelings, and also recommend it to those who never have struggled with those and just want to understand them, because she does truly say, hey, these are the Christians who really taught it or shoved it into my face the wrong way. These are the misconceptions. These are the things that Christians are really kind of doing wrong with their messaging, while at the same time explaining the depth of the pain and anguish that she went through this transition. So definitely recommend it. The only thing about it that kind of caught me off guard is she's a poet, and you can definitely tell by reading it. So, but other than that, great work of art as far as the book goes, and her heartfelt story, definitely recommend it. So next, we're going to go over a song called Sunflower by Post Malone. I'm going to play you a little clip of that, and then we'll deconstruct those lyrics.
Needless to say, I keep a check. She was a bad, nevertheless. Calling it quits now, baby, I'm a wreck. Crash at my place, baby, you're a wreck. Needless to say, I'm keeping a check. She was a bad, nevertheless.
All right, so I'm going to confess right off the bat, that's not necessarily my cup of tea as far as music goes, but then neither are most of the songs I could deconstruct here, so what the heck. Here are some of the lyrics. I do have to say, too, this is from the movie Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I have not seen this movie yet, so I'm not deconstructing the movie. Just want to clarify that. I'm deconstructing this particular song. I'll do it once I watch that movie. Maybe I'll deconstruct it if it's worthwhile. So for this song, the lyrics are, needless to say, I keep her in check. She was all bad, nevertheless. Why is a guy keeping a girl in check? I don't know if they mean that in a positive or negative way, but it sounds negative. Just saying right off the bat. Next, calling it quits now, baby, I'm a wreck. Unless you're married, then you should call it quits for sure. If you're married, then you need to work through it. But if you're not married and you're a wreck, you need to work through that with yourself and Jesus. And yes, you should be calling it quits and getting out of this relationship, because you need to work through that and become a whole person. Continuing. Crash at my place, baby, you're a wreck. Okay, so they're obviously not married because they have separate places, and she should not be crashing at anyone's place when she's a wreck. Needless to say, I'm keeping her in check. Yeah, that doesn't sound healthy at all. She was all bad, nonetheless. Calling it quits now, baby, I'm a wreck. Crash at my place. It keeps going on. Thinking in a bad way, losing your grip. Yeah, you're suffering. Screaming at my face, baby, don't trip. Now, the first part, screaming at my face, is very highly dysfunctional. You need to probably break away from this relationship, both of you, because you're both obviously wrecks. And then baby, don't trip. I don't actually know what that part is supposed to mean. Someone took a big L. Don't know how that felt. Looking at you sideways. Party on tilt. Okay. Oh, some things we just can't refuse. Yes, you can. There are many things in this world, and you absolutely should refuse. And this probably sounds like it should be one of them. She want to ride me like a cruise. Sounds like a very sexual comment. Yeah. All right. I'm not trying to lose. Then you're left in the dust unless I stuck by ya. You're a sunflower. So basically, this sounds like he's concerned for her being left in the dust, so he feels the need, he feels compelled to stay with her, and then calls her Sunflower. Cute nickname, not a good idea in general, though, for you to try and fix her, because you can't fix her. Let's see. I think your love would be too much, or you'll be left in the dust. Oh, I already read that part. Sorry. You're a sunflower. Every time I'm leaving on ya. You don't make it easy. No. Wish I could be there for ya. Give me a reason to go. Every time I'm walking out, I can hear you yelling at me to turn around, fighting for my trust, and you won't back down. Even if we gotta risk it all right now, I know you're scared of the unknown. You don't want to be alone. So you've both got mental health problems. You're both a wreck, and because you're not married, you should probably break up and figure out your stuff before you continue. Overall, this is a very, very dysfunctional song. He continues the last few lines, I know I always come and go, but it's out of my control, and you'll be left in the dust unless I stuck by ya. You're a sunflower. Oh, I think your love would be too much, and it's just a repeat. This is a dysfunctional song, and it's also a dysfunctional display of what a relationship should be. Now, the reason why I have a huge problem with this is because based on the movie itself and also based on the fact that this is a top trending song, it concerns me that our young people are listening to this because it's trashy and also continues to reinforce that dysfunction is sexy, that being a wreck is sexy, that saving someone from themselves and from being in the dust and that screaming and yelling is sexy. It's not sexy. It's not. And I think it's wrong for us to let our young people listen to this because whether or not on the surface they accept the messaging, their subconscious plays this over and over in their brain, whether they know these lyrics are not listening to them. And this is what their brain and their subconscious starts to believe, that this is sexy, that this is desirable, that this is hip. It's not. It's destructive. It's very destructive. So I just bring that up. That's my deconstruction of that song. I would just be aware if you have young people in your life or if you have young teenagers yourself as children. All right, doing our movie/TV show. This movie is called The Invention of Lying. I'm going to play a little trailer clip and then we will talk some about that.
I'm Mark. How are you?
A little frustrated at the moment. Also equally depressed and pessimistic about our date tonight.
Sure.
Imagine a world where everyone can only tell the truth.
I had a little sip of this from right there.
I'm with him right now. Seems nice. A bit fat.
She's way out of your league.
No, I won't be sleeping with him tonight.
About everything.
I loathed almost every minute that I worked for you.
All the time.
I've always hated you. You've always hated you. I didn't know that. Yeah, a lot of people know it. Don't you wish you could change things?
How much are you going to be withdrawing today, sir?
$800.
It says here that you only have $300. It seems our system has made a mistake. Here you go.
Today, I stumbled upon something that no man has ever stumbled on before.
The world's first lie.
Okay, so you got the picture. Essentially, he's in a world, it's a universe where no one can lie. They say exactly what they're thinking and 100% the truth. And then all of a sudden, the main character of the movie, after a few minutes into the movie showing what that world looks like, he discovers that he can lie. No one else can, but he can. Now, the thing about this movie is, at first it started out as kind of entertaining. While it is crass, I should point that out. It's not something I would watch with children or polite company, honestly, because it was very crass and had a lot of sexual innuendos. But basically what happens, fast forward into the movie and him experimenting with what it's like for him to lie and no one else is able to. His mother gets very, very sick, and on her deathbed, he makes up the story about the afterlife to help comfort his mom on her deathbed. So the doctors and nurses overhear him telling this, and then the main character, Mark, becomes basically, everyone finds out about this, and it spreads like wildfire, and he becomes an authority on the afterlife. Now, what really made me cynical about this movie is the way he describes the afterlife is basically what most Christians, I'm not saying it's theologically correct, but what he said was what most Christians would say about heaven. And then from there, a whole ton of people arrive on his lawn and camp out, and they want to know more about the afterlife. So then he develops a story about the man in the sky, supposed to be God, who functions like God, and he pays his theology to 2 pizza boxes and comes out basically like Moses in the 10 Commandments. And it left you with this kind of gross feeling, at least for me, when I watched this movie. It left me with this gross feeling, like it was a pure mockery of religion and a mockery of the Christian God. It was almost like comparing his random made-up laws and his made-up do's and don'ts to just Moses coming out and making up stuff because that's the way Moses wanted his world, and saying it with authority the same way this guy said it with authority on his pizza boxes, that this was the truth, this is how you're going to live your life. And then from there it goes off into this tangent of all of his friends becoming losers and stopped trying to living their life. They stopped trying to do anything with their life because they all believe that it would be better to just hurry up and die so they can go be in heaven. So it almost felt like the movie was created to make fun of Christianity, make fun of religion, and say it's all just made up worthlessness that old guys in the Bible decided to write down, and that believing in religion, like what kind of left you with this feeling at the end of the movie was that they were saying believing in religion makes you less of a person because you're living your life for the afterlife instead of just living for today. Overall, I did not like it. While it started out entertaining, I really just felt gross about the movie when it ended. Definitely wouldn't recommend it, and that's my deconstruction on that. So The Invention of Lying, yeah, if you've seen it, message me on Instagram, let's talk. All right, so now let's end our podcast segment with my favorite, the good in the world. Now, the good in the world is to leave us on a highlight. For those of you who didn't listen to the segment when I decided to add this, it's essentially because I don't want us to forget that even though the news can be crazy and our media is gross and a lot of our entertainment is nasty and disturbing. All that aside, we live in a beautiful world with wonderful people. And quite frankly, we live in the best time, in the best country, and the best part of the world that has ever existed. Our technology has made people's lives last longer and be more quality than it's probably ever been, ever. And part of that, and my love of technology and all the good it can bring, as well as the bad, but all the good that technology brings is this. One of the tiniest premature babies in the whole world is finally going home. This little fighter baby weighed only 9.45 ounces when he was born last August in Tokyo. He was only slightly heavier than a grapefruit. He was actually so little that you could cup your hands and he could be held just in your cupped hands. And also, I should point out that babies this small and premature have very, very small, slim odds. Since 1936, only 23 babies worldwide have survived premature birth after weighing less than 10.85 ounces. 19 of these babies have been female, with the smallest living girl weighing 8.89 ounces in Germany in 2015, according to University of Iowa's Tiniest Baby Registry. Now, on average, babies weigh, if you've had babies or if you're a mother or if you know people who had babies, which is all of us, babies weigh usually about 7.28 pounds, according to the World Health Organization. Now, with a lot of love and prayers, I'm sure, and a dedicated medical team, this little tiny baby boy continued to grow and thrive after staying in the hospital NICU for 5 months. The baby's weight increased to 7.1 pounds, and he's now healthy and was discharged on February 20th. So sure, we can gripe about technology, we can gripe about social media and the issues it's causing, but at the end of the day, technology also has a lot of good, and I think that we should recognize the good, recognize the bad too, but recognize the good and praise it where it's good. And it's saving babies' lives younger than they've ever been saved before, and to me, that's phenomenal. Okay. Last but not least, it is my birthday, and on Instagram, if you're not on Instagram, you need to follow me there. I told you guys that I would answer personal questions today because it's my birthday. Usually I don't know, I guess sometimes I do, but today I took personal questions specifically. So I said I'd take the first 3 good questions that came through. They came through in the first couple of seconds. So right on you guys for following my story. If you don't subscribe to alerts on my story, you should, because then you'll be able to get into the questions and answers part of this podcast. First question is from Rebecca. She asked, does this page bring you any income for you, or do you have another job? Yes and no. I do have another full-time job that I actually work. It was never supposed to be my job. When I started this, it was just a hobby. It was something I started for the heck of it because I was frustrated, and it was right during when homosexual marriage was legalized, and I just wanted somewhere to vent. And so that's how it started. It's grown into something completely different and unrecognizable since then, but as of now, it's still mostly a hobby. I've done a couple of paid advertisements, and I do a lot of shout outs for organizations that I really, really love and believe in. I'll sometimes wear their t-shirts and talk about them, but as of now, it doesn't really bring in consistent income. It's just something that I love. I love you guys. I love this tribe, and I love what we get to, the community we get to create together. So that answers your question, Rebecca. Mel asked, how did you come up with the name Conservative Babes? You know what, Mel? That's a really interesting question. I don't really 100% know. I was living in Idaho at the time. I was talking to my mom and I was like, I want to like do a page and just kind of post so that I'm not like always putting this stuff in my personal page, what do you think I should call it? And I was like, I don't even know who brought it up. I don't know. I honestly don't know if it was my mom or if it was me. I feel like it was me. And I was just like, how about like Conservative Babies? Like, really? Because at the time I was very, very young. I'm still young, but I was even younger then. And I was like, I just feel so young. I feel so like I'm just in this learning phase where I'm figuring out what it is I believe in and sharing that and bouncing it off other people. And so it's just kind of meant to be conservative young people. At the time, Conservative Babe, singular, was available, but I didn't really think about it as me. It was never supposed to be me. It was supposed to be a tribe of people. It was conservative babes, conservative young people together. So that's kind of where that came from. Yeah, hope that was a sufficient answer for you, Mel. All right, last question is, how/when did you tell your husband about your past/your mom's past? Ooh. Okay, that's a good question. Okay, short story is, I am not ashamed of the polygamous family I come from. First of all, it's not really my past. I was born into it. I can't help that I have 40 plus siblings. The same way my mom can't help she has 40 plus siblings. I was born into it. So I don't really consider it my past so much. It's my family, but I'm not ashamed of my family. And I'm really not ashamed of my polygamous background. Would I ever endorse it? No. Would I ever live it? Definitely not. But am I ashamed of it? Not really. I love having a big family. So I've never kept it a secret. It's never been something where I'm like, oh, don't tell people, And so I don't actually particularly remember when I told him because it was very natural. I had gone on many dates with many guys and it always just came up very easily and very smoothly and it was never a big deal. And one thing I do remember is that when I did tell him, in fact, I think it was on the phone. I vaguely remember we had like a very long phone call. It was like a 3-hour phone call during the first couple of weeks that we started getting to know each other. And I just remember him not really having very much of a reaction. He was very chill. He just kind of just went with it and it did not faze him. Now, I think it fazed his family a little bit more than him, to be honest. They've always been kind and loving and accepting of me, but I think it kind of surprised them. And I feel like there might have been a little bit of alarm at the beginning, like, Keegan, who are you friends with? Who is this girl? She has how many moms? No. And so it's actually really funny too, is one of my brothers, he's a half brother of mine. He came to visit me this last month, and he brought his wife and his 2 adorable boys. My nephews are so freaking cute. Like, nobody's nephews are cuter than mine. I know everyone thinks that, but mine's the truth. No, but my brother, one night when we're visiting and we're playing games, he turns to my husband and goes, so whatever made you decide to marry a girl with 7 mamas and, dozens and dozens of siblings? And of course, my husband, being the sweetheart and charmer that he is, he goes, well, it's just tells you just how special my wife is. And of course, I'm just like, oh, my husband loves me and I love him too. But yeah, how and when did I tell him? I told him, I think, on the phone, and I think it was the first couple of weeks we knew each other, I'm not ashamed of my family. I love my family. I think they're fantastic and a little bit crazy, but I'm a little bit crazy, so we all fit together. All right, that answers personal questions for today. Thank you so much for joining me today for this birthday episode, and I will talk to you next week. God bless you. God bless America.